So what I want to talk about in this video is my builds for Season 20, right? This season is pretty interesting because I feel like I haven't played that much compared to my other seasons. And I know we're still like a few weeks left of the seasons, I can still change that, but Trials' season has been pretty like, I play a little bit, but I don't care too much. So if you think you can come into my stream and get raffles, yeah, that ain't happening. I'm not that good at the game. But for what I have been using this season, I can show off. What I was using last season was Lumina Uzume with Boots of the Assembler, which I don't have on me. And the video that I really enjoyed making was this video, where I used this weapon, Tommy's Matchbook. This build, I put a lot of thought effort into this build, right? So you're probably wondering, why is your resil so low? So, for my Voidlock aspect, I use Child of the Odd Gods with Feed the Void. I use Shatter Nades just because they're goofy, and I like being different. I use Empowering Rift, because that's how the boots of filaments work. I use triple Solar Surge, so in case I get an orb, I get more damage from my Tommy's Matchbook. This whole build is based around just making Tommy's Matchbook as strong as possible. I don't even care about the primer I'm using, because I'm 99% of the time going to use this. So I use 2 Solar Targetings, 2 Solar Dex and Solar Loader, 3 Unflinchings, and then Solar Surge with 2 Reapers, so I get 2 orbs. And what I do, I pop the Empowering Rift to proc Devour, I start charging up Tommy's Matchbook, and then if I lose my shield, I'm gonna be weak anyway, so defeating a target while your shields are depleted grants temporary Void Overshield, which drains on my recovery of course, but as you can see I still have 100, that's why my stats are really low. I also use the Void buffs applied, Invisibility Overshield or Devour, have increased duration, so it makes it really good. So it's minus 20 recovery. And then I just used the melee final blow starts health regeneration for you and your nearby allies. And I use while crouch, you sneak faster and you gain enhanced radar resolution. I could have been using something like your void grenades weakens targets, but I think that's a little bit overkill because I have Child of the Odd God, so I can still weaken targets. I use Nova Warp because it's my favorite super in the game. And yeah. For my heavy choices, I would most likely just use Memory Interdict because I love this GL to death. Of course, I have this thing, my Wendigo, which is in theory better because it has higher blast radius. And it also has explosive light, but I just can't stop using my Memory Interdict. I've been only using it for like over a year now, so that's where all the kills have built up. And except for that, let's just go back to the other builds. I mainly play Solar Warlock. That's what I've been mainly playing for the whole season. I haven't really touched the other classes, and my go-to exotic is of course Ophidian Aspect. For the mods, it doesn't really matter. All I do is stats, and then I go with like mods that boost my weapons. The reason I have Kinetic and Arc is because I was using something like No Time and Matador for the week because of Trials. No Time is the biggest meta right now in Trials right now, so it's really nice. And for my weapon choices, I would probably use True Prophecy or Round Robin, depending on how I feel. Rose if I want to feel really snappy with my hand cannon. My 2 exotic hand cannons of choice are Ace of Spades or Lumina. Lumina is so I can heal my teammates and get a damage buff. And of course the Immortal because it's like the best primary weapon in the game currently, if you can get in range. Which is not really that big of a deal. And for my secondary choices, I have Cloud Strike, so I can use Immortal Cloud Strike. Or if I want to use, what I would do is if I go Ace of Spades Matador, I would change to Arc, so I can use my Lightning Surge, because Lightning Surge is really powerful. I pair it with Arc Soul. I use Chain Lightning because it has a slower cooldown, even though I'm a bigger fan of Ball Lightning. I use Lightning Grenades because I think they're the best grenades for Arc on Warlock. Healing Rift, so I can get healing and Arc Souls. Burst Glide, best jump. Chaos Reach, slowest, has a faster charge. For my fragments, I will use Spark of Charge or Spark of Recharge. While critically wounded, your melee and grenade energy recharges more quickly. Now, what I would do is probably use Spark of Instinct. While critically wounded, taking damage emits a burst of arc energy that jolts targets, which is really good. If you didn't know, this aspect of this fragment is really good. And then I use Spark of Resistance in case I slide into all 3 enemies, and then I have damage resistance. And then I use Spark of Volts, which is just for recovery. I could change it for Spark of Haste. You have greatly increased resilience and recovery and mobility while sprinting. But I don't play a lot of arcs, I haven't actually bought them yet. But that's probably the only change I would make to this. And then use Spark of Feedback. Taking melee damage briefly increases your melee outgoing damage. So it just makes it, if I get punched while I'm in my Lightning Surge, I deal more damage. And I will kill every single person. But except for that, if you ever see me on Stasis Warlock, this is probably what I would use. Frost Pulse with Ice Flare Bolts, Cold Stump Grenades, and an Empowering Rift, because it has a faster animation. And then I would use Whisper of Durance, Whisper of Chains, Whisper of Conduction, and Whisper of Shards. Mainly for the stat increases, but there are also really good fragments. Now, let's go to the sauce of the whole thing. Let's just go to a build I would actually use consistently. This is probably what you're going to see me on if you ever match me in Trials, just so you know. It depends on also the map, of course. But I would use the Immortal with Cloud Strike on Solar Warlock. I use Phoenix Dive because I like how it recharges faster, and it's like a pocket healing grenades. I use Celestial Fire because it has range. I would Snap Skate, but I don't care enough. Wall of Radiance because it has such a fast cooldown. Heat Rises with Icarus Dash because I eat my grenades a lot, so I use Firebolts. And also you get 2 Firebolts this season with the seasonal mods with Flare Up and Rain of Firebolts. Flare Up is really good because you get Fire Sprites, which gives you ability recharge. And then I use Ember of Char, Ember of Mercy, Ember of Searing, and Ember of Torches. I use Ember of Torches for Radiant, which takes down my Discipline. I use Ember of Char to increase my Discipline, and if I ever ignite someone, it spreads Scorch a lot more. I use Ember of Mercy. When you revive an ally, you and your other allies gain Restoration. And also picking up Fire Sprites grant Restoration. And if I told you earlier, if I use my Fireball Grenades, I apply more Scorch and I make Fire Sprites. On top of that, I use Ember of Searing. Defeating Scorch targets with melee energy creates Fire Sprite. It gives me recovery and resilience and discipline, so my stats are looking really clean. And that's about it. I don't really play Strand Warlock. This is my PvE build, if you're wondering. This is what I was using on PvE. And that's about it what I have for the season. I use Exalted Truth in case I want to feel extra snappy with my 140. As Frenzy of Perfect Float, these used to stack on top of each other, so it would proc both of them if one of them got procced. So Perfect Float got procced every 6 seconds, and Frenzy got procced every 12 seconds. So what it would do, it would proc Perfect Float and Frenzy every 6 seconds, which is really strong. I used this Akalos SMG. This is not my main one. You can notice how little kills it has. This is my main one. This is the one I've used the most. And it has Shoot to Loot, Rangefinder, Accurized, and Full Bore with a range intrinsic trait. Which is mainly because of range. I went all out on range, but since they changed up the recoil pattern slightly, I thought to myself, I'm gonna try out the dynamic sway reduction one. This one has Seraph rounds with dynamic sway reduction, that's the difference. And about that, they're literally just the same. And then I have my Matador. Everyone has been asking me for my Matador roll. And this is what I had. Lead from Gold, Opening Shot, Light Mag, and Small Bore. With a Handling Masterwork and a Quick Access Sling. What I use on my Matador is triple arc decks to feel extra snappy. And I have my Uzume Adept. This is definitely my favorite sniper in the game. I don't know what it is with it. It feels so good. It also has Dragonfly, so it's like a mini Cloud Strike. And that's about it. My Rose roll is really wacky, but it has a lot more range than you think. Also, it literally doesn't move. It's so consistent. Anyway, that's my Warlock build for the season. If there's any questions, don't forget to comment it. If you want to join the Discord, join my Discord. And if you want to catch me live on Twitch. The links will be in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I love all of you, and I'll see you around.